Good evening. I'm Alex Tremaine. I'm an old man that builds Gundam. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a lovely bank holiday weekend. Today is a continuation of the full armor unicorn build, master grade full armor unicorn that started a couple of weeks ago. When last we were working on this, we finished the waist and got 2 feet built with that delightful transformation ability, and today we are moving on to the rest of the legs, I think. So welcome to the stream. I stream regularly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, normally 7 till 10 PM both days UK time. This week I will be streaming at some point on most days, I suspect, doing various other things, including other Gundam builds and some gaming as well. But that's sort of, keep an eye on Twitter, at Tremaine Alex. That's where any go live notices will be. Yeah, previous parts of this build can be found on the VODs, and they will also make it onto YouTube eventually. Some of the parts are up, some of them aren't. They will be up soon, but I'm not going to make promises as to exactly when, because promises are meant to be broken and things. So this is where we currently sit with the build. I'm going to put this out of the way where I can't hurt it, whilst we continue on, and we'll get stuck straight in. Oh. So we're moving on to the ankles, which are sadly the weakest point on this build. The ankles are cleverly designed, but they're just not terribly strong. Once the model is built, they move very, very easily. I discovered when building the master grade Banshee, which is almost identical kit. Yeah, so we'll see how tight the parts fit on this version. See if it's the same level of weakness or not. Yeah, let's get straight into these ankle joints. So we need L7, 2 L4s and an L8. So we've got the L4s here. L4s, L7 and L8. That's these. 7. And L8. And these are going into L5 and L6. Which are here. And here. Is that everything we need from this? I think that's everything we need for the moment anyway. That'll build us most of one ankle. So I hope everybody's had a nice weekend. It was very nice on Sunday. I got out into the garage, tidied things up. Let's get these feet out of the way. Did some tidying in the garage. Tidied it up enough that I could move the project car over to the other side of the garage and get the actually start parking my regular car in the garage, which is nice. So that was a busy Sunday. Didn't do much on Saturday. In fact, I'm going to be honest, it's been a nice quiet bank holiday, which I'm not disappointed by. Cannot complain on that front. Caught up on some wrestling. Still have so much wrestling to watch. There is never any end to the wrestling. Bit of streamed part of the build I've been occupying myself with when I've not been streaming. Streamed some of that build yesterday. Built some more of that off stream today. That's the Rezel. Quite enjoying that build at the moment. That's got a good look to it, and the mold's really nice on it. Everything fits really cleanly together. There's some minimal flashing on the parts. It feels like the tolerances for everything involved is just that little bit higher on that kit than it's akin to how well the real grade new went together, as opposed to for example this unicorn build, which is great, don't get me wrong. I would recommend this kit to anyone, but it doesn't seem like the mouldings are quite as high as a quality as some other kits I've built, whereas everything's very precise on the Rezel. So I did some more work on the Rezel this afternoon. It now has some feet. It is now a torso, head and 2 arms and some disembodied feet, which, you know, seems like a reasonable combination of things to be. All things considered.
love with the drum. Falling in love. Falling in love with the drum. Falling in love.
I'm watching I was watching a YouTube series this afternoon, looking at the Dragon Age games, of which I played the first two, but I never got round to playing the third. It sounds like the third was something of a mixed bag. Similar how I interacted with Mass Effect, to be honest. I played the first two Mass Effects multiple times to completion each, and I never got around to touching the third game at all. There was a lot of hoo-ha about it when it was released, and at the time the last thing I wanted was a game with a downer ending, and so I never got around to playing Mass Effect 3, and I've not sort of, nothing since has suggested that I missed out. I tried Mass Effect Andromeda. Yeah, Mass Effect and Dragon Age, the same company. Yeah. I played Mass Effect Andromeda. Didn't complete it. It didn't hold up, sadly. At some point I might go back to that game and try and finish it out a little bit, but I don't see that happening. There's more than enough to keep me occupied games wise at the moment, so I'm not feeling the need to go and try and finish games that I wasn't terribly impressed with in the first place. Yeah, by all accounts the third Mass Effect game is very good. It's the sort of final endings that people argued about. The ending is apparently something of a sort of, it's a bit of a bittersweet is possibly not the right term, but it's not a, you know, the evil is defeated, but it's not a flawless victory type of thing, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I've enjoyed a lot of sci-fi from the 1970s. You know, stories where the good guys don't win even is totally fine by me. It's just not what I was looking for from Mass Effect. I think was the problem. That game particularly, I just wasn't interested in that outcome from it. Yeah, absolutely. Life is definitely too short for bad games, or for games that you're not necessarily going to enjoy. Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that sort of Mass Effect 3 is not so much an everybody's dead Dave ending, but it's not a Mass Effect series was built around the characters, and at the end of the series I wanted sort of good things for the characters, and by all accounts that's not the outcome that we get. And yeah, I wasn't really in the mood for that at the time, nor have I really been in the mood for it since. I think the time has passed for me to care enough to play Mass Effect 3. Soylent Green certainly is people. One of the ones that always sticks in my head is a film called Phase 4, which is about ants that eventually take over the world. Which, you know, maybe that isn't the yeah, that kind of silent running ending. And as I say, I liked that kind of thing. Phase 4 was good, but it wasn't what I was looking for in a Mass Effect game, you know. Is what it came down to. So narrow one goes on top. Yes, the ending of Phase 4 was very bad for everybody except the ants. Seemed to be a pretty positive ending for the ants. And the two naked people possessed by the ants at the end of it seemed to be, you know, moderately okay with the situation, but didn't look like it was going to go so well for anybody else, really. Yeah, bittersweet may be overstating it for Phase 4. So, here we have an ankle joint, which swivels like so, and then also hinges back and forth here. And I think this is part of the problem with this joint, is that there are two joints for each axis of movement here, which gives it, which they're using to make it taller, I think is the idea, and spread that movement out, but it means that there's just more opportunity for movement on these, which is a bit of a pain. Anyway, we then need to put, we need L1 and L2. Yeah, yes, actually, Phase 4 very much is sort of that in the vein of Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of ending. You're not wrong about that. Let's have a look at this. Is Sprue F, and we need, what do we need here? This one. It's another film I haven't watched in a long time. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Any version of it. So I think my preference has always been for the Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy version of the film. But yeah, so I played and enjoyed both Dragon Age and Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. A lot of people didn't like Dragon Age 2. Sort of mechanically, I found it fine. I think I preferred the mechanics of Dragon Age 1, Dragon Age Origins, but you know, each to their own, I guess. I thought it did some things well. I thought that the system in Dragon Age 2 very much supported making you look good, making you feel powerful by dispatching large numbers of enemies, because the combat was all based around sort of waves of enemies in that game rather than a small number of powerful enemies. You know, there was a lot of, you'd defeat wave upon wave of mooks, and then at the end you'd get to go up against something a little bit more substantial. I quite liked that. I thought that made characters feel powerful, which is always a good thing for characters to be able to feel in computer games. Feel like they're a cut above things, you know. But yeah, Dragon Age 2 was okay. I didn't get any of the DLC for Dragon Age 2. I got some of the DLC for Dragon Age Origins. Apparently, having watched some videos on the Dragon Age series, there is a lot more DLC for both of those games than I thought existed, frankly. Which is interesting. But again, I don't think I'm going back to play. I don't think I'm going back to play either of those games over again at this stage. I have a couple of games of that sort of. I have several of that sort of party-based RPG style game to finish that I haven't played without going back to replay ones that I have finished in the past. There's I never finished Torment Tides of Numenera, which I want to. I have part completed playthroughs of that and Pathfinder Kingmaker, which is quite interesting, and Tyranny, which is very interesting, where you play for the game, you play the bad guy. or a bad guy. The evil overlord, or an evil overlord, has already won. You are one of her lieutenants, and it's all about sort of what you do in a world where evil has already won, and what the opportunities are for complicity and rebellion and everything else. So it's an interesting one. If you've not had a look at it, I would recommend doing so. It's one of the more innovative sort of that style of tabletop-esque party RPGs. It's got a very interesting premise, and yeah, a lot of interesting decision points in that game. So there's that, Torment Tides of Numenera, what are they called? Divinity Original Sin games. I never finished the first one, and I've got a part complete run through of the second one on as well, which I really should finish at some point. The problem with RPGs of that nature is that they are such a time investment. Certainly having multiple of them on the go at any given time is not doing yourself any favours. But that said, you know, it's not like I didn't find the time to sink 100 hours into Cyberpunk when it came out, so. But that was before I started building Gunpla. And the Cyberpunk setting holds a special place in my heart, as it was the the first tabletop role-playing game I ever played was Cyberpunk. It was what got me into it. It is to blame. Certainly considering running a Cyberpunk game at some point fairly soon. Well, fairly soon. I have a game that's already running at the moment, so it would have to be after that game finished. Ooh, MERPs, good grief. Yeah, that's a there's a role-playing system for you. God damn. I mean, at least it wasn't Rollmaster, the thing from which MERP spawned. Rollmaster was a hell of a thing. There we go. One ankle attached. Let's build another one. Now I looked at MERP. MERPs is quite a system. There bees a lot of tables in that game. An awful lot of tables, and I say this as somebody who is not afraid to play games that use a lot of tables. You know, I have played and enjoyed. I mean, hell, I was intending to run a Traveller campaign. Traveller 5.1. And boy, are there a lot of tables in that game. So many tables. All of the tables. And that's just to get you through character generation. You can die in character generation in Traveller. It's good that way. It's not as easy to die in character generation as it was in earlier versions of Traveller. But you can still die in character generation if you're really unlucky. But weep for Sprue L, for Sprue L is no more. So yeah, I'm currently running a Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can play MERPs or Rollmaster, you can play fucking anything. I don't think I'd be inclined to start somebody on either of those two systems. But yes, I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with them. They're just sort of, they're of their time and they're designed to fulfill a specific need and niche, and that's fine, you know. I'm not a big fan of the Middle Earth setting in the first place, so you know, I'm never likely to play MERPs. And Rollmaster, from which it is a from which it stems, is Rollmaster, from which it stems, is a would not be my choice for fantasy RPGs, put it that way. I think even if I wanted a fantasy RPG with that much mechanical detail in it, I don't think I'd use Rollmaster for it. I think I'd be inclined to go for a GURPS expansion of some kind. Sometimes the general unified role-playing system is actually pretty good. There are so many source books for GURPS, and some of them are real bad. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of real bad stuff for GURPS. But the system itself, just on a base level, is solid, and a lot of the source books are pretty good. A lot of them leave you with something pretty solid to work from. Back in the day, we used to, when I was in university, and for a while afterwards, when I was still living with friends who I'd met in university, we used to just collect role-playing books, not necessarily with role-playing source books, not necessarily with any intent to play them, but just because they're interesting. And of role-playing source books that are interesting that I never intend to play. Rifts is a thing of beauty. That system is so batshit. Yeah, a good GM can overcome the shortcomings of any system. I've had a lot of GMs who have, in some cases, they just know the system well enough that that it hasn't mattered. You know, they've been able to get everybody on the same page and get everybody through the process. And in some cases it's been a case of, well, actually we really like the setting but the system's garbage, so we only use the rules we care about and run a fairly, you know, ignore most of the rest of the rules, and that's fine too, you know. You should never feel you have to use any more of the rules or setting of a role-playing system than are useful to you. Whole point of role-playing is that you can do whatever the fuck you want. So yeah. But yeah, we used to just get role-playing books. If there was a weird one that we saw, we'd grab it and have a look through it and see if there was anything interesting that we could use, or if it was just daft as hell. It's how I've ended up with how I've ended up with a copy of the officially licensed Bubblegum Crisis role-playing game, which is a thing that exists. And is designed to allow for you to create your own group of armored female vigilantes, which is pretty fucking sweet. Basically, the rules are not the best in the world, but they're all right. It's based on the fusion system, which is functional at the very least. But as I say, you want a proper bonkers system, Rifts is the tool for the job. The system where things got so silly they had to invent a whole new damage system to deal with higher level characters. For when regular damage was just not going to cut it, you can have mega damage, which does what it says on the tin. And if your character is operating in the realms of mega damage, then anything less than mega damage just isn't going to scratch the surface. There's such bonkers stuff in that game. I remember reading through the book that gives gods stats. In most games, you just don't do that. You don't give gods stats because then the players might kill them. If you give something stats in a role-playing game, the players will find a way to kill it. In Rifts, that's the whole fucking point. You give everything stats because everything can be killed. Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if I don't give something stats, if players come up with an interesting narrative way to kill something, then I'm willing to let them try. But if you do give something stats, well, that's just asking for trouble. Certainly, if there's a thing that you don't want your players to kill, never give it stats. But yeah, you know, players come up with a plan. There's a god out there, and they come up with some interesting narrative way that they reckon that they can justify killing it, and they go off and they do some heroic deeds and the like, and epic rituals and things, and yeah, sure, I'm willing to work into that sometimes. But that leaves you with the choice. If you give something stats, and then you let your players get them into a fight with a thing because you've given it stats, and they can't possibly kill it. Sometimes they just luck the fuck out on the dice. Sometimes the dice are on their side. And then you're just embarrassed. But yes, I'm currently running a superheroes game using the Champions system. Well, Hero 5th edition. They don't call it Champions anymore. It was Champions when I first came across it. I've been focusing on polishing this part a little while. I don't want to. It's got a really obvious nub mark on it otherwise, and it's on a it's going to be a very visible surface. Yep, lucky rolls can really fuck everything over. And, you know, as GM you've got to be able to roll with that. And that's fine, you know. Sometimes good things happen to the party, and that's okay. You can fix that afterwards. The party can always be made to suffer later. The other good thing about if not statting something up, then certainly not telling your players what those stats actually are means that when when your monster gets a lucky dice roll, you can pretend it didn't and not wipe out your party by accident, because the rules are never more important than a fun game. And you know, killing a player character in a situation where it's narratively interesting, where something's going on that's where that makes sense, nothing wrong with that. Killing a player's character by accident, with a few systems like paranoia as the exception, that's always something I try to avoid. Paranoia is always good fun. I've never run Paranoia. I've played it a few times, but I've never run it. Always been entertaining though when I have played it. That's another one that requires a very specific kind of GM to run, I think. Or at least a party that are all on board with the same kind of humour and expectations. Right, there we go. Another ankle created. So, what are we on to after we're finished with ankles? We start here with B13, F3, F4 and F9. So B13, that's these. I'm just going to bring these sprue Fs down. I'm going to be using them a fair bit. So we need F3, F4, and F9. So this is F9. F3. F4. I mean, I've never been one for sort of dungeon crawling in RPGs. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always a place for that sort of exploration and combat component of role-playing games, you know. But combat is not normally the focus of what I do with a role-playing game. telling a story is the more interesting part of it. I was for many years in playing in an Amber campaign, Amber diceless role-playing game, which is based off the Roger Zelazny's Chronicles of Amber series, which is an excellent series of books that you should go read, and an excellent role-playing system. It has been many years since I've played it now, but it's a fun one. That it's worth having a look for if you've never come across it before. There's some interesting concepts in that game, and they are worth having a look at. But again, that was a game that was specifically designed for the mechanics. Yes, agreed. Amber needs a GM that can really make it work. Amber lives and dies by the GM running the game. But it is a system that's designed for the actual mechanics of the system to intrude upon the story being told as little as possible, which I like. Now, sometimes I want a mechanics-heavy game, you know, something that really defines what your character is capable of and how your character does the things that they are capable of. It's why I use Hero 5th edition for running a superheroes game, because because Hero's really good at that. When you're playing a superhero, it's about defining what powers your character has. Superpowered character, be they hero or villain, it's about, you know, an important aspect of it is defining what your character is and what they can do, and that's fine, you know. The system should never get in the way of the story, and GMs should never be afraid to just throw the rules out of the window when it's important for the story. And as I say, there's genuinely nothing wrong with playing crunchy rule systems. You know, I wouldn't have been trying to set up a traveller game if I didn't like crunchy rule systems on occasion. Even then, with Traveller, the purpose for me personally, the interest in the crunchiness of the Traveller rule system is that it allows you to create some interesting characters, and I was then going to go fairly rules light with the actual in-game use of the rules, you know. The most interesting thing about Traveller is the character and spaceship creation rules. Once you create those characters and ships and defined what they can do, then The actual in-game rules themselves are less important. But sometimes all your players want might just be a dungeon crawl. And that's fine too. Everybody's tastes are different. I mean, going back to Cyberpunk, that was the first role-playing game system I ever played in, was Cyberpunk, and my GM for that used more of the settings and less of the rules. And that was fine. And I've had other GMs that have been, who have implemented rules as written quite closely in whatever games they've been running. And that works too. It's as I say, it's whatever serves the story. For example, certainly for me, the game I'm currently running, the Hero 5th edition game, my players will go several sessions without getting into a fight, and then once they do the sessions can end up being a single fight over several sessions, because Hero 5th Ed is quite a crunchy rules system. The last thing you want is for your characters to get bored, or rather for your players to get bored. Yeah, absolutely, Miss Temperance. I mean, the superhero game I'm running at the moment was intended only to be a couple of sessions long, and it was initially only a couple of sessions long, but the players decided they wanted to continue on. So I get to continue to make them suffer, which is fine, you know. I don't mind doing that. They suffer entertainingly. And at least in the most recent sessions, they've got to kill a bunch of neo-Nazis, which, you know, everybody enjoys killing neo-Nazis. Oh really? Tell me more. Uh-huh. Do they perchance copy spells? Two, 1 for 1 blue red. Magecraft gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Interesting. Okay. Yes, of course, because Magecraft is the Strixhaven. New mechanic for Strixhaven. That makes sense that it would use this. Mana for commander is never a bad number. Allows for potential recasting. Definitely have to have a look at what else is in that deck. I do have an Is It Commander deck. It's not tremendously... I've not done a tremendous amount with it, but the commander deck I put the most effort into is my 4-colour Breyer deck. Which is most definitely all about the combos. Two for 3. Okay, that's a little better. I do enjoy Commander, but when it comes to Magic, my preferences definitely leans towards the sort of instants and sorceries over creatures kind of end of things. My wife, on the other hand, likes playing big green creatures. So we have both ends of the spectrum covered in the house. I like playing spells, non-creature spells in combo, and I often just get murdered with creatures, which is fine. yes, I'm hoping there's going to be some interesting new non-creature spells. Always looking for new good cantrips in blue, or draw spells in red for that matter. More decent, particularly now we don't have faithless looting in modern. More decent red card draw would be most welcome. Veyron is just a new creature for the deck, okay. Thunder Conductor sounds promising. It's a good name. CMC 10 or greater. Oof. I mean, there's some good ones, but yeah, I'm certainly not looking to. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some 10 or greater, 10 or more CMC cards in Is It Colors that I'm looking to cast, but I'm not looking to cast them for 10 CMC, put it that way. I'm looking for ways to cast them for free. I mean, there's plenty of rituals I can use in Commander, but at that point I'm looking for a way to just kill the fuck out of everybody. Don't want to be leaving anybody alive if I'm casting a 10 CMC spell. Commander's curve is weird, don't get me wrong, but even so. Okay. That's interesting. I shall have to have a look at that. Yeah, Veyron's got potential in a sort of cast all of your spells, swing for very lots. I mean, it's like super prowess because it counts copies as well as casts, which is interesting. So we have this way, then this goes on here like so, then this go. That captures that. And then this goes in there like that. And we have a sort of kneecap and upper shin going on. 8/8 octopus for 8 blue. Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got to cast 10, if you've got to have 10 CMC spells in your deck, I guess giant octopi are not the worst option in the world. Right, 2 kneecaps and shins, and at gone 8:30. I'm going to send us on break because my glass is empty and I'm thirsty. So, everybody go forth, refill your glasses, empty whatever you have drunk into the appropriate places, get thyself some snacks, and I shall be back in 5 minutes or so. See you shortly. Welcome back. I'm Alex Tremaine. I'm an old man who builds Gundam. We are continuing today building the Full Armour Unicorn Master Grade kit. Before the break we finished the ankles and we finished a couple of kneecaps and shins, and now we're going to continue on with some more of the legs. So put those to one side for the moment, and we are continuing on with K16 and 19. Let's get everything here. So K 13, 14, 16, 17, 19 and 20. It's okay. Okay, 13 and 14. These two. And 14, 16 is this one. Ooh. I only want one of these. 17, 19 and 20. 19 and 20. And then in addition we want B7. Which is here. Start with 16 and 19. Played some interesting tabletop role-playing games over the years. I've not played some even more interesting and weird ones. But I've certainly played some interesting ones. Deadlands is an interesting setting, sort of steampunk and magic in the Wild West, with an interesting playing card mechanic in place of dice for some of its variants. Which is interesting. There's various versions of Deadlands with different settings, some of which are even in space if memory serves. But yeah, if sort of steampunk necromantic Wild West sounds interesting to you, then take a look at Deadlands, because it's a good system and it's got some interesting ideas, and it's certainly a very interesting setting. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Wild West settings in general, but Deadlands had me. As I say, I own a copy of the Bubblegum Crisis RPG, officially licensed and everything. It's a they spent a lot of money on the rulebook. It's there's a lot of full colour splash art in it and full colour pages and everything. It's particularly for the time, they spent a lot of money just printing the book, and it does look great, and there's some interesting ideas in there, but I've never quite got around to trying to see if it's a runnable game. And as I say, it's in the Fusion system, which is not bad. I've certainly played other games using that system and it's been alright, but don't know. Something I do need to have a look at some point. Never got around to playing in Nomine. That was a lot of thought that was going to be the next sort of World of Darkness kind of thing, as World of Darkness was getting older and winding up, and then coming out with New World of Darkness, and then going back to Old World of Darkness, and I don't know where they are with that anymore, other than not bringing out Bloodlines 2 yet, because apparently it's not good enough. I mean, I understand their decision on that front after the way things went with the Cyberpunk 2077 release. I understand them deciding to be cautious about just releasing on time for the sake of releasing on time. It's disappointing because I loved Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, one of my favourite games of all time. I've lost count of the number of times I've actually finished that game. Not the strongest ending, but the rest of the game makes up for it. And I don't mind the ending. the ending is at least interesting. But it's, yeah. I am still looking forward to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. It's weird, there was this period where it seemed like Bloodlines 2 and Cyberpunk 2077 were going to be releasing like almost simultaneously, and I was going to, you know, die from choice trauma trying to work out what I was playing first. But that never became a problem in the end, which is, you know, well, by the sound of it, probably for the best on the part of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I'd rather they take the time and release a playable game than just release it for the sake of releasing it. There's a lot of people, much like the Cyberpunk 2077, there's a lot of super invested people in that game. And releasing something that people are actually going to enjoy, I think, is going to do them more favours than just releasing. I'm glad they learned from. I'm glad they've learned from CD Projekt Red's misstep on that front. World of Darkness was, of course, the second role-playing game system I ever played. Specifically Vampire the Masquerade 2nd edition. But very rapidly moving into Mage the Ascension. I played more Vampire than anything else World of Darkness wise, but I played quite a long running Mage the Ascension game, and that was fun. And then a second Mage game where the GM decided to use the GURPS version of Mage the Ascension, which again was still pretty good, you know. As I say, I like GURPS. It did some things better than the storyteller system, particularly for Mage the Ascension. It separated power level from skill level, which allowed you to be, which the base game, the regular version, just the storyteller system didn't. And it meant you could be, it allowed you to be very good at doing low power things, whereas in the regular game the only way to get good at doing low power things was to learn to do high power things. Got a copy of D20 Star Wars knocking around somewhere, because there was a period where basically every setting got a D20 version of it, because D&D 3rd Ed was, well, 3rd and 3.5 were so unbelievably popular at the time. They tried using the system for everything to some degree of success, to be fair. I mean, don't get me wrong, I It's not a bad system. 3 and 3.5. And D20 Star Wars is okay. You know, it's fine. It's not necessarily the best Star Wars tabletop. I think there was a previous system that was specific to it, which I think probably is better at being Star Wars, but for a system, if you wanted to run a Star Wars role-playing game and you want a system that people are going to be able to pick up just straight off the bat, then you know what, D20 Star Wars does the job. People know what they're doing with the D20 system. It's all very much linked to it was released somewhat around the time of the Knights of the Old Republic games, which also, broadly speaking, used the D20 system or a variant thereof for its mechanics. I mean, not obviously not exactly the D20 system, because it was a because these things very rarely translate 100% well to 100% well to video games, but it was pretty good. As I say, if you're looking to run Star Wars and you want something that people can just pick up, it does the job. So we want this way round. This is going to fit in here like so. This is going to fit on there like so. This I mean, there were some games I really enjoyed back in the days, the Knights of the Old Republic games. They were sterling games. That all fits nicely on there. And then this fits here. And that fits here. There we go. There's a, broadly speaking, the inner frame of a leg going on here. So next step is to lift that up, and we need B15. also have a copy of, thinking of superhero games, I have a copy of Blood of Heroes, which was originally, which is the later name for what was originally the DC Comics role-playing game, which is a cracking system. It's real heavy on the tables and crunchy numbers, but it's very good at the thing it's specifically designed to do, which is it's designed to allow you to play, it's designed to allow you to build and then play characters on a par with pre-Crisis Superman and, you know, the Flash as written. This is a system that will allow you to design a character that can run at the speed of light and mechanically support that, which is not an easy thing to do. I mean, I'm not using it for my current superhero game because unless you're actively wanting characters of that kind of power level, then hero system is just easier. It's easier for people to use. But if you do specifically want to design characters that big and scary, then nothing does it like Blood of Heroes. It has a its stat system has geometric rather than linear progression to support the ridiculous power levels of characters potentially being created in it. I always wanted to run a game in it, but I never got around to it. I think the first thing you've got to do with something like that is actually, you know, work out if you want to do that. You've got to be able to say, why do I need to be using, why does this story need characters this powerful? And if it's just a case of you want to give your players some, you want to give your players the tools to just really fuck the world up, make them the next best thing to gods, and let's see what they can do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That can be fun. And it will certainly do that for you. But for me, it was always a case of, well, actually the story I'm interested in telling here isn't really I've never been able to sort of come up with that sort of cosmic level story that really demands or not demands but supports characters of that power level, you know. Comic writers are very clever humans. You know, characters like Superman or the Flash or Martian Manhunter, you know, people who've got these absolute game-breaking powers are writing stories that make them where those game-breaking powers don't break the game is a challenge and a half, in my opinion. And for me personally, what I've found is whenever I've tried to come up with something, you know, you come up with something that's the way they do it in comics is that they'll create something either so powerful that that they need that level of power, or just something that their power can't sort out. Now, if you're going down the second route, then it doesn't matter how powerful that power is, I guess. And just for convenience sake, when I've come up with stories like that for players to go through, it's not really upping the power level for dramatic reasons hasn't really been worth it, you know. B17 and G7. And G18. So B17. Yeah. Which leaves coming up with a threat that needs that kind of power level, and I've never really done that. I should probably give that a shot at some point. Right, G7 and G18. So this is G18. And G7. 7. I mean, maybe the solution is to just try building some characters in the system and seeing what comes out the other end and whether it's worth turning into an antagonist or not. I've also got a copy of Nexus the Infinite City, which I wanted to try running at some point. It's a fairly straightforward concept, the idea that all cities are connected through Nexus the Infinite City, and if you're really unlucky, you might just end up taking the wrong turn down the wrong path in the city you're in and ending up in Nexus. And then you're stuck. Because once you're in there, it's very difficult. It's not necessarily difficult to get out of Nexus. It's not terribly easy to get out of Nexus where you came in. And that always seemed like an idea I wanted to play with at one point. But the time at which I was thinking about, the time at which that interested me was also when I was still playing Amber, and a lot of crossover of concepts between Nexus and Amber. And I've not really come back to it since. I haven't actually played or run a World of Darkness game in a very long while. That might be a thing to do at some point in the future. I suspect I've got some players who'd be interested in that. Could be persuaded to have a go for old time's sake. For those of you, not as many people here at the moment, but if anybody is wondering about my sanding strategy here, I have this is 320 grit to get the worst of things, then this is 1500 grit wet and dry, and then this is 7000 grit to just really finish things off to as close of a shine as I can manage. Right, so this then goes. What am I doing here? No, this goes on this side. Like so. And then We swap over this way and we need G9. G9. Anything else we're putting on here at the moment? No, just G9. Might have to do I need to go through my role-playing bookshelf, see what's actually down there. I know I've got a copy of a fairly old copy of Ars Magica, which I have neither played nor run, and I would like to do that at some point. It's sort of in the vein of Mage the Ascension, but not quite the same, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. I would like to play some of the other White Wolf games as well. I never got round to... So I play Vampire and Mage, but I never got around to playing any of the other more weird ones. Changeling always looked interesting. Changeling and Wraith. Never really felt the never really got the appeal of werewolf beyond the sort of, I guess werewolves and vampires kind of go hand in hand thing, but I've never felt the desire to play or run werewolf. I could see using werewolves as antagonists in a vampire game, but I never really Werewolf the Apocalypse never grabbed me. One of the players in a Mage the Ascension campaign I was in though played a mummy, which was cool. Right, so we have the thigh is now complete, and you can see the transformation process here is nicely effective. Everything lines up quite nicely and cleanly there. So let's move on to the lower leg. I always did like the I mean, Mage got very silly the more and more expansions that they built into. I mean, it was the same with all the White Wolf stuff. The more expansions they released, the dafter it got. 2 and 4. But I quite liked some of the daft expansions. sort of Men in Black Terminator-esque things from the technocracy. I liked the technocracy as villains. I thought that worked quite nicely. Conceptually. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos or streams of people playing Vampire 5th edition. And I think I like it. I wasn't sure how I would feel about the hunger dice mechanic in it, but it's okay. It brings hunger significantly closer to the front of, significantly closer to the surface as a mechanic. Than it ever really was when I played vampire games in years gone by. Dunno. I think I'd actually have to play with it to really make a final decision on this. But in addition to Vampire 5th edition, there is also the 20th edition of the 20th anniversary edition of Vampire, or really the 20th anniversary edition of World of Darkness, where they basically did erratas and updates to the earlier version of the rules, pre-hunger dice mechanic. So there is a World of Darkness system for everyone out there still. I'm certainly willing to give 5th Ed a try before I mean, my gut says that I would lean towards the 20th anniversary edition, but that may just be because that's leaning into the comfort of what I know rather than for any good reason. So, don't know. Should probably give it a try. On how you want to play your vampire game. So that's everything on there. Let's get this cleaned up. Normally I wouldn't bother tidying these up quite so much because they'd be hidden, but on this particular part is very visible when you transform the model, like exceptionally visible. So important to get it properly cleaned up. I also want to play, I never got hold of a copy, but I do want to get hold of, at some point I need to get hold of a copy of the Numenera role-playing game, which is the tabletop system that Torment Tides of Numenera computer game was based off. I really like that setting. Go. Let's do this one. Torment Tides of Numenera was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Planescape Torment. I don't know if it really succeeds on that front, but what it does succeed on is being a very good role-playing game of the story-driven variety, like properly interesting stories. So it's well worth looking at just on the basis of what it is, rather than necessarily what it was intended to be. And you know, Planescape Torment is still there. There's an enhanced edition of it. And if you want Planescape Torment, you can just play Planescape Torment again. I do. There's another game I've lost track of how many times I've played it. It's a cracking game. Right, so now that we tidied these up, how does this fit in? So this has to live in here, and then this needs to go together here, because this will slide up and down like so. And we'll poke out of the kneecap when it's transformed. Right. What's next on this front is so we need F11, which is this. We need M1, which is one of these. Every single little booster rocket on this is identical. Right, M1. So we've got F11, we've got M1, we need B19. B19. That's these. We also need B5, which is one of these. And what else do we need here? We need K something. K22. K22 is down here. Right, so let's start with this. that cleaned up nicely. I'm not regretting getting these, getting this wet and dry to use for cleaning parts. Nice. I'm pretty certain some of that is going to be visible, so let's clean this up fully. Now normally I wouldn't need to clean up a ball joint, but it's actually going to end up being visible at the end of this process, because that's where the boosters are going to end up going on the end of. Right. Have to be nice and clean. Right. How's this come out? That's all good. So goes on there. That then lives inside here. So that's steps 1 and 2 of this process. Step 3 is this green flap that goes on the bottom. So cleans up nicely. Right, so step 3 is that this clips on here. Step 4 is this. We are going to have to worry about cleaning these ends up because they're going to get captured by something else. And this is also not going to be. This is also not going to be visible, I don't think. So, step 4 is that this clips in like so. And what this will do. What this will do is push this up and down. Then this clips on top like so, so that when the time comes it will extend in that fashion. And in the meantime, everything there is going to get concealed. So we need Y3 and K5. Y3, okay. Well, K5 is this one. Need G20, which is here. Anything else that's part of that one now? G20, which is here, and Y3. Have I got sprue Y here? No. Sprue Y in a southern box. One. Select those. This is neither of those. Aha! Apologise for all the crackling I've just done down the microphone there. Sprue Y. So, sprue Y, we need Y3, which is this one. Again, we're not going to need to be tremendously worried about the edges on these, because these are most definitely going to be concealed by the final layer of armour. So I'll do a little bit of a tidy up on them, but not. I'm not going overboard on these because they're never going to be seen. If they do turn out to be exposed, we can always come back to them, but I am pretty confident nobody's ever seeing these parts, or at least not these edges. So K5, sits in place like so. Y3 sits in place on the other side, like so. So, what is the difference between Y3 and its equivalent? Okay, so these have protruding parts here, and this one has countersunk parts. Now, unless I'm very much mistaken, that is so the grenades can be mounted on the legs. I'm pretty sure. I think that's for the grenades. So this we will tidy up properly. Because this will absolutely be visible. sits on put it the right way around. This sits on the front like so. So that's the transformation procedure there. Right, so what's next? F5, K21 and F1 and 2. This is in fact everything left on this F sprue. F1 and 2. Weep for the first of sprue F, for it is dead. We do have another sprue F. This is also F. Where were we? F5, F1 and 2, and K21. So K21. K21 is here. So I'm reasonably certain nothing about part K21 is going to be visible once we're done here. Ian Dog, good evening. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, not doing too badly, thanks. Been building Gundams, talking about dodgy old tabletop role-playing game systems. I hope you've had a good bank holiday weekend. Thank you for the follow. You been having a good evening? A polish. Just go for that once more with the Well, I'm here building this Master Grade Full Armour Unicorn, which I am rather enjoying. I think probably going to get this leg finished this evening. I did a bit of spring cleaning on the weekend in the garage, which actually got it to the point where I could fit the car in the garage, which was, you know, a victory I've not had for quite some time. And I have the rest of this week off as annual leave, so it's been a pretty good weekend so far, and it's only going to get better. I do not have to be in work until next Thursday, and I am very happy about that fact. Right, so this then clips on there. So the plan is to do a bit of extra streaming on these few days. So I'm going to be around at some point most days, hoping to get in a bit of a stream tomorrow afternoon, though perhaps not, actually no, I'll be honest, it's probably going to be building Gundam. Not this one though. I have a, where have I put this? This is the Resel that I've been building partially off stream and partially on stream. It has feet also. Finished the feet this afternoon. Been quite enjoying this build, so I'm going to, that may well be on the list for tomorrow afternoon. This is progress where we are with this build. We have the upper body and waist, and the legs are where we are at the moment. But I've been sort of keeping this out of harm's way while I've been carrying out the build. So. But yes, I quite like that Resel. It's been quite a satisfying build so far, and where, I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy this build. I built the Master Grade Banshee, and it's a good build, but the moulding quality isn't as high as some of the builds, some of the kits I've done, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the mould quality on the Resel kit is really top notch. Everything has just fit together perfectly. Whereas where there's been a couple of places I've had to do some trimming on this in order to get everything to sit exactly right. The Resel's just gone together like spot on, which has been absolutely perfect. Are you a Gundam builder? Do you build? What is your model building of choice? cool. My next big build after this is going to be a perfect grade. I have a perfect grade Banshee and the LED kit to go with it, which I'm very much looking forward to. Putting together. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be quite a sight once it's done. The LED kit is kind of intimidating looking, I'll be honest. But I can, even just sort of looking at it, I can kind of see how it's going to, how it's designed to fit inside the kit. Which is nice, you know. That's the plan. It can't be any more. It cannot possibly be any more confusing than some parts of the perfect grade Zeta was to build. My God, that thing had so many tiny springs and screws. Right, so which way around is this going? This is this side. Like so. That fits nicely. So what did we... This still needs the wet and dry. Yeah, I definitely apologise for the screeching from the part. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on. I'm not rushing that build, it has to be said. That's going to be a. That's going to be a build that I will definitely be taking my time over. No doubt about it. Yeah, absolutely. I certainly took my time over the last couple of perfect grades I did. As I say, I did the perfect grade Zeta and I've done the perfect grade Strike Rouge. That was a nice build. But yes, no rushing on those. I enjoyed the Zeta personally. I'm not sure I'd recommend it to everybody, if only because those tiny springs and screws are kind of annoying. I think it was by far the most interesting build I've done. Not necessarily the best, but interesting definitely. The Strike Rouge was just a really nice build all round. That just went together really cleanly, and the result was excellent. So this then just snaps in here, and that gives us a completed lower leg. So there's some last bits that need to go on here. G. So we need G13 and 14, which are these. Yeah, I've got to be honest, I've yet to come across a unicorn based kit where the transformation hasn't been uniformly excellent. I built the hang on a moment, where is this? I built the Master Grade Banshee prior to this one, so this is sort of fairly there's no surprises here, but it's a really nice transformation. It looks absolutely fantastic once it's done, and it looks great both transformed and untransformed. It's just really solid. And something I discovered accidentally is that all of the inner frame parts are luminescent under blacklight, and that's the same for the green on the unicorn. Yeah, I was really pleased when I found out about that. I've got a shelf, which one of my tasks for this week is to put the shelf up, on which to move these models that are on the shelf back here. And one of the plans is to get a couple of LED blacklight strips to go on there. So this needs G5. Let's grab everything off sprue G while we're here. I've also done this real grade unicorn was the first kit I did, and this came out really nicely as well. Really recommend this, it's good value. And G1. Not that I'm going to be finished with this kit anytime soon, because although coming close to completing the I think to completing the actual Gundam itself, the sheer quantity of weapons that the full armor unicorn kit comes with is mind-boggling. I think we've got 6 miniguns, 6 miniguns, 3 shields, lance halberd type thing, a couple of booster rockets that can be turned into a sled. Yeah, massive quantity of stuff. So I've got a few more, although I think next stream is Thursday evening, and I think probably going to get the other leg done, and maybe even the backpack if I'm lucky. I think it's then going to be another couple of there's going to be another couple of streams after that before all of the extra bits and pieces are built. UV LEDs with multi-pack, cool. Have you got any unicorns that can make use of them? Oh, nice. I've got to admit, I'm a sucker for the unicorns. I think they're really good looking. I think they're really good looking models, which is why I've ended up with so many of them. They fit my taste in aesthetics, is what it comes down to, and I really like how they look. I've been looking at eBay. I keep getting tempted by the there's a real grade, there was a special edition real grade perfectibility, which has the blue in a frame instead of the green or red, and has the sort of the back mounted shields and tail that the Phoenix has, but all in white. I keep looking at those and thinking, ooh, I wouldn't mind one of those. But I've spent enough on Gundam this month, so that's gonna be for at least 1 or 2 paychecks time. I like the Sazabis. I'm not sure. I mean, I do like the Death Size. They're not 100% my cup of tea, but I would quite like to get one at some point. I think the next thing I'm really sort of looking for is the yeah, that's fair. The next thing I'm really looking for is a nice Barbatos of some kind. I quite like the look of those. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying the master grades. I built the high grade new recently. That was the first build I did on stream with the, sorry, not the high grade new, the real grade new, with the managed to lay my hands on a HWS expansion kit for it as well. That's really cool. That's a good looking kit. My backlog as it stands is sufficient in that I'm building this on stream. I'm building the master grade Resel sort of like sometimes on stream, sometimes off stream. I then have in the backlog perfect grade Banshee and the lighting kit for it, and I have a perfect grade Strike Freedom in the backlog as well. So yeah, the real grade new is just a fantastic kit. It just goes together really well and it looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it looks once I've had the opportunity to panel line it, because I think it's going to look absolutely incredible panel lined. I love the wings on the Strike Freedom. I just have this feeling the Strike Freedom is going to look just gorgeous once it's done. The initial plan was that the Strike Freedom was going to be the next build on stream after I'd finished this, but with the perfect grade Banshee with the lighting kit in my paws now, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to hold off on that. Don't know. I might just make that one for me and build that with the lighting kit off stream. But I think it'd be interesting to build it on stream with the kit, but with the lights. But building on stream is definitely slower than building off stream. So I don't know. I'm really excited for that kit. Right, so we need K 4 times 2, which are these. So these are the clips that hold the ankle transformation in place. There's a bit of a seam line down the centre of that I'm going to take off. Ooh, that sounds good. Gotta be honest, I'm quite liking master grade kits. I think I mean, don't get me wrong, perfect grade are where it's at. No doubt whatsoever. I've loved both the perfect grade kits I built to pieces. They're just really nice. The results from a perfect grade are just to die for. But from a cost perspective, the real grades and the master grades give you an awful lot of bang for your buck. I have not been disappointed so far by either, and the difference in price between going from sort of high grade to master grade or high grade to real grade is, there's a difference, but it's not like the difference in going from master grade to perfect grade, which is like an enormous jump. So yeah, I'm quite liking master and real grades for sort of that nice balance between price and fidelity and complexity of the kit, you know. Really? I've not heard of any of the... I've heard some of the real grades aren't quite up to the standard of something like the real grade new, but I've not heard any of the... I've yet to hear anything bad about any of the real grade kits, if that makes sense. What was the problem with the Wing Zero? These have come up. There we go. It's got rid of the line down the middle. Ah, yes. Well, I know that feeling. That's one of the that is one of the nice things about building perfect grades is just that all of the parts are bigger, and yeah, it makes it easier on the fingers. There we go, that one's come up pretty well as well. So let's get these mounted on. Like come on. There it is. So these are these come away to allow, actually let's get the next part on, because that'll allow that to, that'll show that better. Let's just clean this up. Cool. I mean, there's a lot to the Sazabis, just in general. They're fairly beefy monsters. Right, so that's never going to be seen. We've caught those two. Aren't any other nub marks. Right. will admit another one of the kits I've been looking covetously at has been the I think it's a master grade high new that I've seen knocking around. That looks like it'll be quite nice. There we go, that's better. Right, so this then fits on like so. Started filing this. Polish. Yeah, that does sound like a challenge. I've currently been restricting myself to what I can find from actual retailers in the UK. which isn't necessarily an infinite supply of options, but I've been doing alright so far, which is why I've resisted trying to get those perfectibilities off eBay, because I'm just not sure what I'm actually going to receive at the end of it. Right, that's come up clean. So this then this then sits on here. And there we go. And we have a complete leg. So let's look at the let's have a look at how well this transforms. So first step is there, and let's do the leg transformation. Yep, this does indeed have the heels transformation on it, which is super cool. Then these should there it goes. Nice. That's all correct. Then we need to do that expands at the top, and then so there we go. That's the complete leg transformation. Which is quite nice. And mind if we get some nice black light effect on that. So yeah, that all works pretty well. I'm quite happy with how that's gone together. Got to do that on the other side now as well, but let's put this back the way it was for the moment. Let's clip that all back together, then this compresses back down, fold the heels away. We've got to swing that back down, and these need to rotate back up. Let's see what the problem is. There it is. There we go. Right, let's I think the last thing for the evening is just remove these. And then let's make sure that this is there we go. That's better. Refit these. Okay, where did the side of your face go? Thank you for the follow, whoever that was. I did not catch it. Wave in chat. Thank you for the follow anyway. Ah, just a host. Well, thank you for the host anyway. I'm afraid you've come in at the very end of the stream here. And I've just managed to lose the side of the face, which is deeply irritating. It'll show up. It can't have gone far. Ah, there it is. One moment. I'm Blooded Raven, thank you for the follow. If anybody is not familiar with Shitty Popu, he is also a Gundam streamer. He's been building a high grade. He recently finished a high grade Evangelion from the 90s, which has been quite an experience for him. Not the most reliable of kits, but it has still turned out looking pretty fucking good. So there we go. We have a one-legged unicorn. Which is better than it was earlier today. So one-legged, two-footed, and a kneecap. Indeed, unilegged unicorn. It's the new thing. So next stream we'll definitely finish the second leg, which will put us with may even get the backpack done at the same time. That'll be Thursday. Tomorrow I'm going to be streaming something in the afternoon. I'm not 100% certain whether it's going to be games or whether it's going to be more of the Resel build. Which I've been doing part on stream and part off stream. So here's the Resel, which now has 2 arms and a couple of feet to go with it. I've been quite pleased with this build. But yeah, a 24-hour stream. Ooh, was the Iron-Blooded Raven, was the Master Grade, did you start and finish that in the entire 24 hours? And how many times did you end up stabbing yourself with a craft knife by the time you got tired? Because I can stab myself with a craft knife when I'm wide awake after a fresh night's sleep. So I wouldn't trust myself around them in the if I'm not properly awake. Full build of the Master Grade Infinite Justice in 24 hours. That's not bad going. That is not bad going at all. I mean, that's probably a reasonable. If I was building off stream a Master Grade in 24 hours, yeah, I can kind of see that. I build slower when I'm talking. I don't know what it is, but I just do. So yeah, I wouldn't like to think what how long it would take me to build a Master Grade on stream. 18 hours, so you built the Super Deformed Sazazi afterwards. Well, that's just bragging now. That really is. I mean, when I built the real grade new, that was like let's have a look. The real grade new took me 1, 2, 3, 7. Yeah, I guess the real grade new took me about 24 hours of actual stream time to build. And that was including the HWS expansion. So yeah, I guess 10 cheeseburger challenge. Oof. That sounds awful. I mean, I have a lot of space for cheeseburger in me, you know. I cannot deny that I have eaten the odd cheeseburger in my life. But 10? That's I am both, you know, multiple times the man I used to be in my 20s, just by volume, but also not the man I used to be in my 20s in my ability to just consume whatever the hell was in front of me, in whatever quantities. So yeah, wow, 10 cheeseburgers, no. I'll leave that with you. your little brother ate 14. Well, that's just... I don't know if that's showing off. I mean, I guess it is showing off for some value of showing off, but equally, I would feel real bad after 10 cheeseburgers, let alone 14. I would not be okay. I'm fine after one cheeseburger. I'd probably be fine after a couple of cheeseburgers, but 10? 10 is a lot of cheeseburger. It's a lot of cheeseburger. Yeah, no. I will leave that to young people. Yeah, I don't even want to know what delightful distress I'd be in come the removal of cheeseburger process. Yeah. Right, now given I have been meaning to do this. I keep saying I'm going to introduce other members of the family. This is Thor. He's a murder paw. That's the official sort of breed, is murder paw. These giant murder paws that he has here are he is actually a Maine Coon Norwegian Forest cross, which is why he is so big and why he is so floofy. Just to give you a slightly better concept of the size of the beast. I'm not a small person, and this is a lot of cat. But look at he has such fluffy paws, such fluffy toes, such fluffy everything. But he is also a murderer, and he will not tolerate this for very long. Say hello to the internet. Oh, you reaching for the people? You can't have my microphone. Oh, you're a lot of cat to maneuver. Right, off you go. Three Maine Coons. That's a lot of cat. We've got 3 cats, but only one of them is the Maine Coon Norwegian Forest cross, and he's like 7 kilos or something like that now. And the other two are just moggies. You know, they're little tabby cats. 9 cats. Ooh. I mean, I'd love to own 9 cats, but I do not have the space. There's barely enough space for 3 of them at the moment. Yeah, 9 is a lot of cat, particularly if 3 are Maine Coons. That's whoa. That is some level of bravery. Yeah, Maine Coons are big, and Norwegian Forests are just as big as Maine Coons. So yeah, I mean, that lump is like a year and a half old, less than a year and a half old. And he's, you know, he went from sort of yay big to that in about a year, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, he is much cat, and he is enough trouble to deal with. I couldn't imagine having 3 that size and then another 6 on top of it. That would be just some kind of, yeah. British blue. Oh, I do love British blues. That, oh, such nice colouring. Really soft fur on them as well. I mean, cats don't love anyone. I love cats. Cats love themselves, and that's about it. You know, that's just how it works. You've just got to accept that cats will give you whatever affection that they deem will be appropriate to the current situation, and how it benefits them. Yeah, Thor there is Thor likes my wife and tolerates me. The other two are sisters. One of them likes my wife and will accept affection from me, and the other one hates both of us and will occasionally accept affection from either of us. And that's just how it works. Cats are cats. They like who they like, and yeah, I've seen the thing about cats being a lesson in consent, and I think that's I don't think that's unreasonable as a description of how cats work. They will allow you what they will allow you and no more, and you just have to accept that, and that's probably for the best. Yeah, wouldn't be without them though. It's been a long time. Had cats when I was growing up with my parents, when I was a kid. We normally had sort of 2 or 3 cats, depending on which ones had run away to a farm, which ones had just disappeared or been had accidents, and then I left home and for a while sort of living in rental properties that just didn't allow pets, and then sort of 2007 I guess it was, we moved house into a place that would let us have pets, and we've had cats again since then. Just wouldn't be without them. It would be the world would be a very cold place without cats. Very definitely. But yeah, I mean, scratch to hell is just a standard condition with cats. Just the way it works, you know. Sometimes cats are where you do not want them to be, and in removing them from the place where they are not supposed to be, you get scratched, and that's just the price you pay for having cats, and yeah, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Anyway, thank you all for coming along for the evening. I will be back probably tomorrow afternoon. I've got to go shopping tomorrow morning, and I've got to go shopping tomorrow morning, and I've got to go shopping again very briefly tomorrow evening, about 4 o'clock. So sometime in between, I think the aim will be to start streaming around about midday tomorrow, maybe a little after that. There will be a thing on Twitter. Yes, I guess I should do that part of things, shouldn't I? I have a Twitter. It's @TremaineAlex. I will post tweet when going live type thing. I have a YouTube channel. The link for the YouTube channel is a jumble of letters and numbers, and therefore is in the Twitch description. I put all of my past streams on the YouTube channel, so you can see my fumbling with building Gundams. I will be streaming tomorrow afternoon at some point, and then the next scheduled stream is Thursday, which will be back to the one-legged unicorn, to make it a two-legged unicorn, and then Friday I will probably stream during the day, I think, on Friday, but I'm not entirely certain exactly what time that'll be. In the meantime, you all take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of the evening, what is left of it. For those of you who do have work tomorrow, then I hope it all goes well. I am fortunate in that I do not. My work has been very kind and given us this entire week off, so which is why I'm able to do random streams during the daytime this week. This will not be the usual schedule. And yeah, everybody have a good one, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at some point, or if not, later in the week. Where is the going offline button? There it is. Right. See you later.